Hard to say when we're going to see stabilization. I don't think it's just the tax laws. It's rising prices, it's slow wage growth, and it's rising rates. That has been a perfect storm for the U.S. housing market. What the tax laws are doing are really shaking up the snow globe of where Americans live. People are moving from California and other high-tax states to places that provide some relief. And the reason they're doing that is because they can't write it off anymore on their federal return.
I guess the question then, another way of asking this is, when we see this migration, the cities to which they migrate, are we seeing prices there continue to rise, or is there a stabilization there?
The prices are definitely stronger, and in some places they're rising. If you look at Boise, Idaho, Nashville, Tennessee, places in Texas, Pittsburgh, Detroit, those are the destinations for people who are looking for the next turn in the economy and who are looking for some tax relief. In many cases, houses are affordable, traffic is less, folks really are just looking for a place where they can afford to live. And what's crazy about the U.S. economy right now is it's going so great, and yet people feel so poor. Folks who are trying to buy a home are really frustrated. They can afford gas and groceries and everything else, just not a place to live.
Glenn, in April, you had said that higher mortgage rates were not a big deal to buyers, but rising prices were. I know that was April and things have changed and rates have moved up.
Yeah, you got me. So buyers are definitely shaking it off then. They aren't now. And I think part of that is because in coastal cities, we've seen such a rapid increase in prices. And when you couple that with rising rates and also a glut in places like Seattle of rental inventory, we've seen people who were looking at buying a house suddenly realize they can pay less in rent. And so lots of folks are pulling back. We aren't going to know how it's really going to affect the housing market long term until we see next year. We're in the kind of funky part of the real estate market. November, December, you can't count on anything. But if there's a strong economy, a roaring stock market, low unemployment, I think people are still going to pay up. It's just going to be a little harder with tax reform and interest rates being higher too.
It sounds good to, want to migrate to a place with lower taxes, but let's not forget that because the changes in the tax law and the inability to take advantage of the SALT deduction, the state and local income tax, it's hard to sell your house. It's not just a buying issue, it's a seller's problem as well. Somebody has to buy your house, and in these areas where they're most affected by all this, I imagine that would slow down some of the migration.
Well, if you're selling a house in LA to buy a house in Boise, Idaho, you're going to come out ahead. There's been an inventory shortage for a long time that has only recently reversed in the California markets and elsewhere. I do think people come into these states like Idaho with funny money, where they just feel rich looking at $200,000 or $300,000 houses. So I do think the trend long term is for more Americans to move inward, and those places that New York media types would call flyover are now destinations.